If you are selling services with a consultative sales process like IT services, and you are not consistently doing pipeline reviews with your salesperson, you are leaving a lot of money on the table. I'm going to tell you why and exactly how you can make that up with a proper pipeline review. Let's dive in. Hey, what's up? I'm Ray Green, former executive turned nomad entrepreneur, and I've turned around 8 sales teams in my career. I led national small and mid-sized business for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce for over a decade. So I oversaw the digital sales, the phone sales, the field sales, direct mail sales. I've also led turnarounds with investor groups as a CEO, and for the last 5 years have consulted with and coached hundreds of MSPs and IT business owners. And one of the things that I see really frequently is founders are really excited to get themselves out of the sales process. They're like, boom, got to hire a salesperson. They get a salesperson in there and then let them run. But here's the thing. Salespeople are not set it and forget it. And you don't put salespeople on autopilot, especially if you are running a consultative sales process, meaning you've got a lot of deals in your pipeline. You don't always have a lot of visibility into where those deals stand. And because of the nature of the sales cycle, sometimes it takes weeks, months, even longer. It makes it easy for deals to get hung up, to get stuck, to get stalled, and leave you wondering, hey, why aren't we getting any sales? It's been weeks, it's been months, it's been years. And these deals, I keep like, they're supposed to close, they're supposed to close, they're supposed to close, and they simply don't. The answer to that problem is conducting regular and proper pipeline reviews with the person who is selling your stuff. You both sit down, you look at the CRM, you look at the opportunities or the deals or whatever's sitting in the CRM, and you figure out where they all stand and what needs to happen in order to move them forward. You figure out what is not moving forward. You figure out why it's not moving forward. You brainstorm on how to get some of these deals across the finish line, and you get real about the shit that's not moving forward or maybe even just never going to close. That's the benefit of a pipeline review, okay? When you're doing pipeline reviews with your salesperson or sales team, you're gonna get more visibility and transparency into your own numbers. You're gonna get more accurate forecasts. You're gonna get a better understanding of how your salesperson is actually performing to strategize on some of these deals, brainstorm on how to get them to move forward, and you're gonna create accountability for the actions that are actually going to make that happen, which helps you get more deals across the finish line, win more sales, and drive more revenue. Now, how do you actually conduct a pipeline review? First of all, you need to do these at minimum once a month. At least once a month. If you can, do them once a week. Like, I want to see where all these deals are. I want to shrink the feedback loop on the actions and the commits, meaning when the salesperson commits to take some action, I want to know sooner rather than later whether they actually did it. If you stretch it out to a month, you've got weeks that go by. I understand time constraints, but really, if you want full insight into your pipeline, you're going to conduct these every week, every other week. Here's the agenda, and I'm going to break each one of these down a little bit more. The first thing you're going to do in the meeting is you're going to review the action items from the last pipeline review. You're going to start with that. All right, did we do these things? Why or why not? Second thing is you're going to look at the pipeline overview, right? Like we're going to talk about the numbers and things like that. Again, I'll get into it in a second. Third thing is you're going to do a deal by deal review. Fourth thing is you're going to get commits on the steps that are going to be taken, the actions that need to be taken when you leave that meeting. And fifth, you're going to look at and agree to the forecast. All right, now let me break these down a little bit more. First one, reviewing the action items from the last one, pretty straightforward. This is what we talked about. This is why you got to document it. Like you've got to create some documentation so that you start the next meeting with what you did in the last meeting. So you look back to it and you say, John, Sally, whoever it is, you said you were going to do this, you were going to drop by here, you were going to do this, 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 and this, and this. Did we do it? Okay. It's like, was it done or was it not? Second agenda item is the pipeline review. All right. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at numbers. All right. We're going to look at number of deals that are in the pipeline value, because if you're using a CRM as you should be here, each stage is going to have some value. So you're going to look at the pipeline value and pipeline value by stage. You're going to look at the average deal size. Okay, is that, and what the trend is that going up? Is that going down? You're going to look at close rates. You're going to look at sales cycle time. In other words, how long is each deal taking to close? And then sales velocity. Basically, how quickly does it move from one stage to the next? Now, you don't have to necessarily cover every single one of those bullet points. Take the data that you can, but you do want to look at the pipeline and say, what's happening here? What is the value? What is the trend? How many deals are happening? How many new deals? And that's where you're going to start. Then you're going to go into a deal by deal review. If you have a light pipeline, meaning, you've got 4 deals in proposal stage and, a couple deals in assessment phase and a handful of deals in discovery, like I'm going to review every single one. If you've got a fat pipeline, then you're going to prioritize. Okay. Maybe you can't get to every single deal that is in the pipeline. So you're going to look at it and you're going to say, All right, what is close to closing? What is stalled or stuck? What is high value? And what are the newly added deals? Like, tell me about these ones. I want to get a briefing. Okay, now here's what I'm looking for in the deal by deal review. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to look at the notes. I'm going to look at who we're talking to, and we're going to go through. And here's what I want to know. What's the real status of this deal? And is it moving forward? Okay, like what is the actual no bullshit? Like, where is this thing at? And is it moving forward? And if it hasn't moved forward, I want to understand why. Are we talking to the right decision makers? Right? Do we have all the stakeholders that we need involved at this stage of the process in order for the deal to close? Then I want to know, what are the specific actionable things that need to happen on your part as a salesperson? What actions need to happen in order to move this forward? Then I want to know, what's the confidence level in you? Like, you know, you should have more details than me. What's your confidence level that this deal is going to close? And has that changed since the last time that we talked? And then what are the flags? Like, what are the red flags in this deal? What are the obstacles, the risks, or anything that could keep this deal from closing? And then if those things are there, how do we address them? Right? Like, what are we going to do? Now, that's what I want to know. What I don't want to hear, and I've done a lot of these. What I don't want to hear is, I'm waiting to hear back. Waiting is not a specific actionable thing. So my follow-up to that is, oh, well, I'm waiting to hear back from so-and-so. Excellent. At what point are you going to do something, and what are you going to do? Okay. If you're waiting to hear back from Joe, the CFO, okay, fair enough. At what point are you going to reach out? And when you do, what is the specific action that you're going to take to connect with Joe, the CFO? Because I want to flip that. I don't want waiting. I don't want any of this passive shit. I want active. I want ownership. I want to know what you are going to do, what steps you are going to take to move a deal forward. If you're waiting, that's sometimes part of the process. But you have a specific action or a timeline or something that you are looking at before you're going to take action. You're not going to wait forever. God, I hope not. I don't want to hear anything about your feelings. I don't mean that like in a mean way. What I mean it is, I don't want to hear like, hey, I felt like that was a really good conversation. I felt like, we really clicked. I felt like we walked out. I felt really good about that one. What evidence do you have? Okay. What documentation do you have? What words did they say? What actions did they say? What steps did you commit to? What are the next things that we are going to do? I don't want to hear about the feelings, because as salespeople and entrepreneurs, we've got to be optimistic to a degree. Like, otherwise we wouldn't do this fucking job, right? Like, we've got to believe these things are going to close. It's the thing that keeps us going. Like, salespeople and entrepreneurs are like the optimism is what feeds us, and the hope is what keeps us going. It's also what leads to shitty forecasts. It's also what leads to a whole bunch of deals getting stuck in the pipeline. So I don't want overly optimistic, emotionally based pipeline reviews. I want evidence. And then I don't want to hear, kind of along the same lines of like overly optimistic stuff, but I don't want to hear, hey, we got that one in the bag. Like, okay, we're definitely going to win that one. Like, that one's easy. Like, I don't want to hear any of that. Like, again, I want commitments. I want evidence. I want actions. I want very specific things. And I'm fairly literal on this. Where is this thing? What proof do you have? And what do we have to do to move it forward? Now, the next part of this is the commits, or the specific steps, the actions that we're going to take leaving this meeting, right? Like, we've just gone through all the important deals, or all of the deals. Now, what are the action items for the salesperson as they walk out the door to execute by the time that we have the next pipeline review? And I want to know what those are. I want to know when they're going to be done, and I want them written down and documented, because again, that's how we're going to start the next review. And then last but not least is the forecast. And I want to know, okay, what's going to close this week? What is going to close this month? What's going to close next month? What is the actual forecast here? And then what's the outlook looking at our pipeline probability adjusted? Okay, so your CRM should have something in there that says this is 80%, this is 50%, this is, whatever that is. Like, looking at the probability, you should be able to multiply like the amount of value that you have in the pipeline by the probability, and then you should come up with a forecast, and you should be able to base that to a certain degree on the timelines. Okay, and I want to look at that forecast, and I basically want to know, is it trending up? Is it trending down? And I also want to know, am I continuously having the same conversation about deals that don't close? Am I consistently hearing about, oh, it's going to close next week. Oh, it's going to close next week. New deal. Oh, it's going to close next month. Oh, it's going to close in 2 months. And then those deals don't happen. This is where I'm getting insights into the salesperson's mindset. What you want to keep in mind here is yes, this is an opportunity to increase accountability, to increase accuracy, and cut through the bullshit, all right? Because within the pipeline, there is a ton of opportunity for people to bullshit you. So this is the time that you go through when you get really serious about what that's happening. But also keep in mind, this is an opportunity to coach. You can use evidence and say, we've had this conversation about this account or about these accounts multiple times. I believe, based on what you're telling me, that the way that you're looking at these deals or that you're seeing some of the actions out of these deals may be leading to missed opportunities or missed timelines or inaccurate probabilities. So you don't have to slam your fist down. You can use it as an opportunity to coach. You can look at where your salesperson is potentially weak, right? You can also look at that and see, based on the progress in the pipeline, deals keep stalling out here. What's happening? Like just recently, I was working with a business and they were looking at the deals that were coming through into discovery, and they were going into the assessment, and a lot of deals were just getting stuck at the assessment. Well, okay, let's take a look. Like, what's happening? Well, within that, there was a process where the salesperson would basically say, hey, we're going to send you some information to get the assessment started, and they would send that afterwards, and then that would require that prospect to initiate the thing, and then the salesperson's like following up. Well, why don't you tweak the process? Like, you see the deals keep getting hung up there. Why don't we ask them to initiate that assessment while they're there, and then you'll increase the throughput to the next stage. Okay, so we made that change. So use this not just as a, hey, like I'm here to cut through the bullshit, I'm here to look at this, but also coaching, also a lot of R&D, and also how you can improve your own process. So if you do this very consistently and you do it properly and you hold people accountable and you document these things, I assure you, you are going to have more transparency in your pipeline. Your forecast will be more accurate, and you will win more deals because no matter what, you'll be learning while you're losing deals, and you'll be able to start making those changes. I hope this has been valuable to you. If it has, go ahead and subscribe to the channel for more business and sales tips. Adios.